The sound of my phone ringing used to be such a comfort. It meant I would hear my son's voice again. His name, Thomas, would flash across the screen, and I'd pick up the phone, excited to hear about his day, his life, his thoughts. He used to call me all the time, sharing everything from his work to his weekend plans. It was a connection that meant the world to me, something I looked forward to every day. But lately, the silence has been overwhelming. For months now, I've checked my phone, hoping to see his name, but there's nothing. No calls, no texts, not even a "How are you, Mom?" It's like the world has gone quiet, and I'm left in this empty space, wondering what happened. I remember when Thomas was young, he'd run into my arms after school, his face bright with excitement. We spent so much time together, laughing, talking, and just enjoying each other's company. I used to think those moments would never end. But as he grew older, things started to change. When Thomas went off to college, I didn't think it would be a big deal. I knew he'd be busy, finding his own way in the world. That's natural. I told myself that it was okay, that he'd still reach out every now and then. But over time, his calls grew less frequent. He wasn't calling as much, and when he did, he seemed distracted. At first, I tried to convince myself it was just a phase. He was adjusting to adulthood. But then months turned into years, and the calls just stopped. It's been months now since I've heard from him. I've called, of course. I've left messages, trying to sound casual, hoping to hear from him soon. But nothing. The phone just rings, and then I'm left staring at the screen, waiting for something that doesn't come. I can't help but wonder what I did wrong. Was I too much? Did I somehow push him away without even realizing it? I raised him with so much love, did everything for him, and now it feels like he's forgotten me. I can't help but wonder if he's just too busy with his life to think about me anymore. Maybe he's caught up in his job, his friends, his new world. But even as I try to understand, the loneliness keeps creeping in. There's a hole in my heart where his voice used to be. I've asked my friends for advice, but they just tell me, he's grown up, he's busy, as if that's supposed to make me feel better. I don't think they understand. How could they? How could anyone understand the ache that comes from a child you once held so close, slipping away? I try to stay busy, to distract myself. I tell myself it's just a phase, that one day he'll call and everything will be okay again. But the more I wait, the more I feel the distance between us. It's like there's a wall I can't break through, a wall that's grown higher and higher over time. And so I wait. I wait for that phone call that I'm starting to wonder if I'll ever get. I wonder if he's thinking of me, if he misses me the way I miss him, or if I'm just a memory, fading away. I'm not sure what happened, but I can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. I just don't know what it is. Why did my son stop calling me? Every day, I hope for a sign, a call, a message that will bring me back to the way things were. But with each passing day, I fear more that I might never hear his voice again. The silence is heavy, and I wonder if I'll ever be able to bridge the gap that's grown between us. I remember the first time Thomas moved out. It wasn't easy, I won't lie to you. The house felt so empty, so quiet after he packed up his things and left for the city. My little boy, who had always been by my side, was now starting his own life. I held it together, though, because I knew it was a good thing. It was time for him to grow, to learn, and to experience the world on his own. At first, he called every week. I would hear about his new apartment, the friends he was making, and the challenges he was facing. We'd laugh about silly things, like how he couldn't figure out how to cook a proper meal, or how he got lost driving to work. It felt so reassuring. My boy was still my boy, even if he wasn't under my roof anymore. But over time, the calls started to become less frequent. A week would pass, then two. I'd send him a text asking how he was doing and get a quick reply, "I'm fine, Mom, just busy." The replies were short, distant. I could tell something was changing, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I tried to be understanding. I told myself it was just part of growing up. He was starting his career, meeting new people, and building a life for himself. I told myself he didn't need to call every day anymore. He was an adult now, and adults get busy. But one day, it hit me. He wasn't calling at all. I had gotten used to hearing from him at least once a week. I missed hearing the sound of his voice. So I called, and I left a message. I told him I missed him, told him to call me when he had the time. He always used to call when he could, so I figured it wouldn't be too long before he'd get back to me. But the days turned into weeks. Nothing, not even a text. I told myself he was busy with work. Maybe he'd gotten caught up with something important, something that was taking up all his time. So I waited. I waited for that phone call, the one that would tell me everything was fine. But it never came. I'd watch the days pass, one after the other, each one feeling a little emptier than the last. I'd keep my phone close, waiting, hoping, but it was like he had disappeared from my life, just slipped away without any explanation. I found myself wondering if I was too demanding, too needy. Did I make him feel like he couldn't have space? I knew I had been a hands-on mother, always there, always present, but I thought he'd appreciate that. I thought he'd want to stay close, even as he got older. But as time went on, I started to feel something I couldn't ignore, a sadness creeping into my heart. He used to call me just to tell me about his day, just to hear my voice, but now he couldn't find the time to even send a simple text. I tried to fill the silence with distractions, cleaning, cooking, even gardening, but nothing worked. The silence remained. I'd watch other mothers with their children, those who had their sons or daughters visiting or calling regularly. I'd watch them laugh together, share stories, and I would feel the weight of what I was missing. I felt the distance between Thomas and me growing wider every day. I wasn't sure what happened. One moment, he was my world, and the next, it felt like I had disappeared from his. It was like I wasn't even important anymore. I tried calling again, and once again, it went straight to voicemail. That was the moment I realized something was really wrong. My heart sank. The pain of that silence was unbearable, and yet I couldn't let go. I couldn't stop hoping that one day Thomas would call. I had to believe that something would bring us back together. But the longer I waited, the more I feared that the bond we once shared was slipping further and further away. Would he ever come back? Would I ever hear his voice again? I remember all the little moments that seemed so ordinary at the time. It's funny how the things you don't think twice about are the things you end up missing the most. Thomas and I had our own little routines, nothing extravagant, just small, simple things that made our connection feel steady, unbreakable. I used to bake his favorite chocolate chip cookies every weekend. Oh, how his face would light up when he walked into the kitchen and smelled them baking. He'd run up to me, his hands outstretched, wanting to taste one right out of the oven, and I'd laugh, always trying to stop him before they cooled enough. "You're going to burn your tongue," I'd warn, but he never listened. Then there was the time we spent in the garden. I remember teaching him how to plant flowers. I'd tell him about the different types of plants, explaining how each one needed its own care. "You've got to treat them gently, Thomas," I'd say. "Just like people, they need patience and love to grow." "Like you, Mom?" he had asked, his little face serious as he held a seedling in his hand. I had smiled and nodded, my heart swelling with pride. He always seemed to understand what I was trying to teach him, even at a young age. But as the years passed, those moments grew fewer. First, it was the quiet dinners together. Then the weekend mornings when we'd sit and talk about everything and nothing. Then it was the phone calls, the ones that would come without me having to chase him. He'd call to check in, to ask how I was doing, to hear about the small things in my life. Those calls, they were my lifeline. But now those moments seem like a distant memory, a time that slipped away before I could even hold on to it. I thought I had all the time in the world with Thomas. After all, he was my only son. I believed that as long as I was here, as long as I kept reaching out, we would always have that bond. But now I'm realizing how fragile everything really was, how quickly things can change, how easily one moment can be taken for granted. I've tried to look back and figure out where things went wrong. Did I miss something? Did I say something? Could I have done more? I keep running through the years in my mind, trying to pinpoint when the distance started to grow between us. But there's no clear answer, no exact moment where I can say, that's when it happened. Maybe it was when he graduated from college and moved to a new city. Maybe it was when he started his first job and got caught up in the whirlwind of adulthood. Or maybe it was just time that slowly pulled him away from me. I try to understand, I really do. I tell myself that he's just living his life, that he's not abandoning me, but deep down I can't shake the feeling that I've lost something precious and irreplaceable. I think about the way things used to be, the phone calls, the laughter, the small gestures of affection. I think about how when he was younger, he would come home from school and run into my arms, not caring who saw or how old he was. And I think about how even as an adult, he used to reach out to me, just to check in, just to make sure I was okay. Now that doesn't happen, and I don't know why. The silence in my house has become overwhelming. It's almost as if the walls themselves are mourning the absence of his voice. I try to fill the emptiness with work, with activities, with anything that will distract me from the pain, but it's always there, lurking just beneath the surface. As the days go by, I try to hold on to the good memories. I try to remind myself of the love we once shared, the bond that seemed unbreakable. But the silence only grows louder, and I find myself asking more and more, why won't he call? Why is he pulling away? It's a question that haunts me every day, and it's a question I don't have an answer for. Will the silence ever end? Will I ever hear from Thomas again? It's funny how quickly life can change. One minute, everything seems fine, and the next, it feels like it's slipping through your fingers. The hardest part, I think, is the uncertainty. I don't know what happened to Thomas or why he stopped calling. I don't know if it's something I did or if it's just life pulling him away from me. I've thought about it endlessly, tried to retrace my steps, to figure out when things started to shift, but there's no clear answer, no moment that stands out as the turning point. It's as if the distance between us crept up on me quietly, almost unnoticed. And now I'm left here, in the quiet of my home, wondering why I'm the one who has to reach out first every time. I remember when he was younger, he'd never let a day go by without checking in. It didn't matter where he was or what he was doing, he always made time for me. But somewhere along the way, something changed. Was it when he moved out of the house? Was it when he started his first job or when he fell in love? I don't know. All I know is that I miss him more than words can express. I miss the sound of his voice, the way he'd laugh at my silly jokes, the way he'd share every detail of his life with me, no matter how trivial. Those days seem so far away now, and I wonder if they were just a dream. I think about the last conversation we had. It was over 6 months ago. He called to tell me about a promotion at work. He sounded so happy, so excited. I was thrilled for him, of course, but there was a distance in his voice that I hadn't heard before. He didn't ask how I was doing, didn't share anything about his personal life, didn't make any effort to connect the way he used to. I brushed it off, thinking it was just a busy time for him, but now I can't help but wonder if that was the moment when things started to change. It wasn't just the phone calls, it was the little things, the way he stopped sending me pictures of his travels or telling me about his friends. There was no more, "I love you, Mom," at the end of our conversations. The space between us seemed to grow with each passing day, and I didn't know how to fix it. I keep telling myself that he's just living his life, that he's busy with work, with his own responsibilities. That's what everyone tells me anyway. He's an adult now, and adults get busy, they say. But that doesn't make it easier. It doesn't make the silence feel any less painful. It doesn't stop me from wondering why he can't find time to pick up the phone or send a simple text to let me know he's okay. I've tried to be understanding. I've tried to tell myself that this is just a phase, that maybe one day he'll come back to me and everything will be the way it was before. But as the days stretch on, that hope starts to feel more and more like a distant dream. I know I can't force him to talk to me. I know I can't make him pick up the phone or reach out if he doesn't want to, but it doesn't stop me from wishing that he would. It doesn't stop me from longing for the connection we once had, the bond that seemed unbreakable, the love that felt endless. And so I wait. I wait for the call that never comes, for the text that never appears. I wait for the son I once knew to return to me, even just for a moment. But as time goes on, the questions only multiply. Why won't he call? What happened to the love we shared? And most haunting of all, is there anything left to bring us back together? The silence is deafening, isn't it? Sometimes I catch myself sitting in the living room, staring out the window, waiting for the sound of his car pulling up in the driveway, but it never comes. The empty space around me feels like a constant reminder of the distance between Thomas and me. I don't know what happened or why he stopped calling, but every day feels like I'm waiting for something that might never come. You know, when you raise a child, you never really expect that one day they might drift away from you. You give them everything, your love, your time, your heart, and in return, you expect them to remember you, to stay connected. It's not that I ever expected Thomas to stay home forever or not to grow up. I knew that was part of life. But what I didn't expect was the feeling of being forgotten, of being pushed aside like I didn't matter anymore. I think about the things I never said to him, the words I wish I could take back, the things I wish I'd told him before it was too late. There were times when I was so caught up in the small things, the details of our daily lives, that I didn't realize how much I needed to show him how much he meant to me. I took his presence for granted. And now, with the silence growing between us, I wonder if he knows how much I love him. Does he remember the days we spent together, just the two of us, laughing and talking for hours on end? I remember his first day of school, how I held his hand and told him everything would be okay. I remember his first heartbreak, how he cried in my arms and asked me if he'd ever find love again. I remember all the little moments, the quiet times when it was just him and me, sharing a cup of tea or sitting side by side, watching the sunset. Now, those memories seem like they're slipping away, like they're fading into the past. I wonder if he even remembers them, or if they've become nothing more than forgotten moments. Did I do something wrong? Was I too clingy? Too demanding? Was it my fault that we've grown so far apart? I remember telling him when he was younger that no matter where life took him, no matter how far away he went, I'd always be here for him. I promised him that he could always come home, always call me when he needed someone. And yet, it feels like those promises have been broken by both of us. He hasn't come home. He hasn't called. I've tried to reach out to him, of course. I've sent messages, left voicemails, hoping for some sign that he's okay, that he hasn't forgotten me. But nothing ever comes back. No reply, no message, just silence. And that silence hurts more than I can put into words. It's not that I want him to be here all the time. I know he has his life to live, and I want him to be happy. But why is it so hard to find time for me? Why is it so hard for him to pick up the phone and just say, "Hi, Mom, I'm thinking of you"? I don't need much, just a reminder that I still matter to him, that the bond we shared isn't lost forever. I've asked myself countless times if I'm being unreasonable. Maybe he's just busy. Maybe he's caught up in his own world, his own responsibilities. But the longer the silence continues, the more I wonder if I'm being foolish for hoping. Shouldn't I just accept that things have changed? Shouldn't I just let go of this need for connection, for understanding? But no matter how much I try to convince myself, I can't let go. I can't stop hoping that one day Thomas will pick up the phone and call me, just like he used to. I can't stop hoping that we'll find our way back to each other, that the distance between us will disappear, and we'll be able to talk again, just like we used to. The weight of those unspoken words press down on me every day. I wish I could say everything I've been holding in. Tell him how much I miss him, how much I love him, how much I need him. But I can't, and I fear that one day I'll never get the chance. I wait, hoping that somehow the silence will end. But the longer it lasts, the more I wonder, will I ever hear from Thomas again? There are days when I try to push the thoughts of Thomas out of my mind, telling myself that everything will be okay, that he's just going through a phase, or that life has simply gotten in the way. But deep down, I know better. I know something's changed, and I can't ignore the nagging fear that I might be losing him. The worst part is the uncertainty, not knowing why he's pulling away or what went wrong. I used to be his first call when something exciting happened, or when he just needed someone to talk to. Now that's gone. And with it, I feel like I'm disappearing from his life, fading into the background, a memory of his past that he doesn't need anymore. I never thought I'd be the kind of mother to feel abandoned by her child. When he was little, I was always there for him, through every scraped knee, every broken toy, every tear. I held him when he was scared, comforted him when he was sad, celebrated with him when he succeeded. I was his safe place, the one he turned to when everything else seemed uncertain. Now it feels like I'm no longer his safe place. I'm not even sure if I'm a part of his life anymore. I remember when he was a teenager and I'd find myself anxiously waiting for him to come home. He'd stay out late with his friends and I'd worry about him, wondering where he was, if he was safe. He always reassured me with a smile and a, "Don't worry, Mom, I'm fine." And for a while, I thought that was all he needed to say. But now, as an adult, I'm left wondering, what happened to that connection? Was it something I did? Did I smother him too much, or did I let him go too soon? Did I not give him enough space when he was ready to become independent? I'll never know the answers, and that's what eats at me. The unknown, the unanswered questions that hang over me like a dark cloud. The worst part is that I'm afraid I'll never get the answers. I'm afraid I'll never hear his voice again, never hear him tell me he's okay or that he loves me, that one day I'll wake up and realize that I've been forgotten, that all the years of love, of being there for him, won't matter anymore. It's a feeling of helplessness that I can't shake off, the waiting, the hoping, the wondering if this is just a phase or if it's something more permanent. I keep telling myself that he'll come back around, that he'll remember the love we shared, the bond we had. But as each day passes without a call, without any contact from him, my heart sinks deeper into fear. I try not to let it consume me, but it does. Every day I look at my phone expecting to see his name on the screen, hoping for a message, a call, anything that will tell me that he still cares. But nothing. The silence is overwhelming, and it's beginning to feel like I'm invisible to him. It's hard not to feel resentful sometimes. I know I shouldn't, that he has his life to live and that he doesn't owe me anything. But it's hard not to feel abandoned when someone you love stops reaching out. It's hard not to feel like you're no longer needed, no longer important. But even in the face of this fear, I can't stop loving him. I can't stop hoping that he'll remember me, that he'll come back into my life and make things right again. I can't stop hoping that one day he'll call and we'll have the chance to rebuild what we've lost. I can't help but wonder, will I ever stop feeling this fear? Will I ever get the chance to tell Thomas how much he means to me, how much I've missed him? I hope that one day he'll come back to me, but as each day passes without a call, without any contact from him, my heart sinks deeper into fear. What if the fear of losing him is the reality I'll have to face forever? It's funny how much a simple text message can mean. I've never been one for constant texting, but when I don't hear from Thomas, even a simple "how's your day" would feel like a lifeline. I've sent messages to him so many times, each one filled with hope and a little bit of fear, hoping he'd read it, hoping he'd find the time to reply. But more often than not, my texts go unanswered, and I'm left staring at the screen, wondering if I'm still someone worth responding to. At first, I understood. He was busy, he was working hard, and life had a way of getting in the way. But as the weeks turned into months, I began to realize that maybe he wasn't just busy, maybe he was avoiding me. The thought hurts more than I care to admit, but it lingers in the back of my mind like a quiet shadow. I've tried every way I can think of to reach out to him. I've texted, I've left voicemails, and I've even sent emails. Nothing too demanding, just a simple check-in, just a reminder that I'm still here, still thinking about him. But the silence is deafening. Each unread message, each unheard voicemail feels like a nail in the coffin of our connection. And I can't shake the feeling that with each passing day, the space between us grows wider. I sometimes wonder what he's thinking when he sees my name pop up on his phone. Does he ignore it on purpose? Does he even notice? Does he think that I'm being too much, that I'm bothering him, or that my love is something he no longer needs? I don't know the answers to any of these questions, and I fear that I might never know. There's a part of me that wants to give up. I try to tell myself that he's just living his life and that he doesn't need me the way he once did, but there's another part of me, the part that's still his mother, that refuses to believe that the bond we shared is gone forever. I remember the days when I was the first person he'd call when he had something on his mind, when he needed advice or comfort. I remember how no matter what was going on in his life, he'd always make time for me. It was that feeling of being needed, of being important to him, that made everything feel right in the world. Now, when I reach out, I get nothing. No response, no acknowledgement, just more silence. And it hurts more than I could have ever imagined. I keep wondering if there was something I missed, something I did wrong. Did I make him feel like he had to pull away? Did I suffocate him with my love? I would give anything to go back to the days when he used to confide in me, when he'd laugh with me, when he'd ask for my advice. But those days seem like they've faded into the past, like a memory that's slipping further and further away from my grasp. The silence is the hardest part. It's the unanswered messages, the unheard voicemails that make everything feel so final. It makes me question everything. Was I a good enough mother? Did I give him everything he needed, or did I somehow fall short? I don't know the answers. All I know is that I miss him. I've tried so many times to reach out, to make a connection, but every time I do, I'm met with silence. I wonder, as I sit here looking at my phone, waiting for a message that may never come, if I'll ever hear from him. Will he ever remember how much I love him? Or will the silence continue to stretch on until I'm just a name in his past? Every morning, I wake up with a quiet hope, hoping today will be the day. I check my phone, my heart skipping a beat each time I see the screen light up. Just maybe it'll be a message from Thomas, but it never is. It's just another day of silence. I try not to let it consume me, but it's hard. It's hard to wake up day after day feeling like you've been forgotten, like you're waiting for someone who may never show up. I've grown used to the quiet in a way, but that doesn't mean it's any easier to bear. When you're used to hearing someone's voice regularly, it's a shock to the system when that voice suddenly disappears. The house feels emptier without it. Even when I'm doing things, cooking, reading, sitting by the window, the silence feels louder than anything. It's like I'm constantly waiting for something that doesn't come, always waiting for a sound that might never reach me again. I try to fill the void with other things, other activities, other people, but no matter how hard I try, it doesn't fill the space left by Thomas's absence. My friends, bless them, try to comfort me, telling me it's just a phase. He'll come around, they say. He's busy. Life happens. But no one knows what it feels like to be in my shoes. No one knows the ache of waiting for your child to call, for them to just check in, to tell you they're okay. It's not just the silence that hurts, though. It's the wondering. It's the constant question of why he's not reaching out, of why I don't seem to matter to him anymore. I'm his mother. I raised him. I was there for him when no one else was. I loved him unconditionally through every phase of his life. And now it feels like I've become a ghost in his world, someone he's no longer interested in keeping in touch with. The longer the silence drags on, the more the questions start to pile up. Did I do something wrong? Was I too overbearing? Was there something I said or did that pushed him away? I try not to dwell on it, to remind myself that life isn't always about finding someone to blame, but it's hard not to wonder. It's hard not to look back and think, could I have done something differently? Sometimes I find myself sitting in the chair where I always used to wait for his calls. It's a strange feeling, like I'm stuck in time, waiting for something that may never happen. I can't bring myself to get rid of the chair. It's like if I get rid of it, I'll be admitting that I've lost him. I can't bring myself to do that, not yet. And so I wait. I wait for him to come back. I wait for him to remember that I'm here, that I'm still his mother. I wait for the phone to ring, for a message to pop up on my screen, for him to say, "I'm sorry, Mom, I've been busy, I miss you." But the longer I wait, the harder it becomes to keep believing that this will happen. I sit here every day, watching the clock tick by, wondering if I'll ever hear from Thomas again. The silence is overwhelming, and each day that passes without a call from him feels like another piece of my heart slipping away. Will I ever get the chance to talk to him again? Or will I just keep waiting, hoping that one day he'll remember me? I've tried everything I can think of to move past the silence, to stop waiting, but it's not that easy. It's not as simple as telling myself to move on or let go. You can't just erase years of love, of memories, of being a mother. It's hard to explain to people who haven't experienced it, the way your heart feels like it's breaking, little by little, with every day that passes without a call, without a message, without any sign that your child is still thinking of you. Sometimes I try to distract myself with things. I keep myself busy, running errands, visiting friends, working around the house. But in the back of my mind, I'm always wondering about Thomas. What's he doing? Who's he spending time with? Does he ever think about me? And the more I try to push these thoughts away, the louder they get. You'd think that after all these years of being a mother, I'd have learned how to stop worrying about him, how to stop wondering where he is and what he's doing. But I haven't. I haven't learned how to stop caring, and I don't think I ever will. It's part of being a mother, this unrelenting desire to protect your child, to know that they're safe, that they're okay. I think back to when he was young, how I would wait by the door for him to come home from school. The moment I heard his footsteps on the front porch, I would rush to open the door and give him a hug. No matter how old he got, I never stopped waiting for him, never stopped caring. But now, when I hear the silence in the house, when I sit here alone, I can't help but feel that same waiting. But now it's more painful. I'm not waiting for him to come home after school. I'm waiting for a phone call, a message, just a sign that he still remembers me, that he still needs me. Sometimes I even start to question the reality of it all. Did it all happen the way I remember? Did I really raise him with as much love and care as I think I did? Did I do something wrong along the way? Did I make him feel like he couldn't come to me when he needed help, when he needed a mother? The silence has a way of making everything feel uncertain, like I'm not even sure what's real anymore. I look at old photos of us laughing and smiling together, and I wonder if he still sees me the way I see him. Does he remember how much I love him? Does he remember the way we used to talk, the way we used to connect? Or has that all faded, replaced by a life that doesn't have space for me anymore? I want to believe that this is just a phase, that one day he'll come back to me, that he'll remember the bond we shared. But the longer this goes on, the harder it is to keep believing. The silence has become a wall, one that feels impossible to break down. And I wonder, if he hasn't reached out by now, will he ever? It's heartbreaking to admit, but I can't help but feel like I'm losing him. Every day that passes without contact, every unanswered message, every missed call feels like another piece of the relationship slipping away. The longer I wait, the harder it is to believe that things can ever be the way they once were. I wonder if Thomas remembers the connection we had, or if the silence has already erased it. And with each passing day, I find myself asking, will he ever come back to me? Will I ever hear his voice again? You know, I never thought that a mother could feel so invisible to her own child. I remember the days when Thomas couldn't get enough of me, whether it was telling me about his day, asking for advice, or just sitting beside me watching a movie. Those moments were my lifeblood, the very things that made me feel seen, needed, and loved. But now, I can't even get a text back. It's as if I've become a ghost in his life, someone who no longer matters. And that feeling, the feeling of being invisible to someone you've poured so much love into, is a kind of loneliness that no one can truly understand unless they've felt it themselves. I look around the house, and everything reminds me of the times we spent together. The pictures of our vacations, the mementos from school events, the drawings he made me when he was little. It all feels so distant now, like I'm looking at the life of someone else, someone I used to know. But it's not someone else. It's my son. I try not to dwell on it, to remind myself that he's just living his life, that he's an adult now, and I shouldn't expect him to need me the way he used to. I try to be strong, to let go, but it's hard. It's hard to just accept that he doesn't need me anymore, when all I've ever done is give him everything I had, everything I still have. I look back on the years I spent raising him, and all I can think is, was it enough? I've spent so much time questioning myself, whether I was a good enough mother, whether I did too much or not enough, whether I made him feel suffocated, or whether I let him go too soon. Maybe I gave him too much independence too fast. Maybe I didn't see the signs that he was pulling away, that he was starting to outgrow me. Or maybe, just maybe, I was so wrapped up in the love I had for him that I didn't realize how much I was taking him for granted. I keep thinking about the conversations we used to have, the way his eyes would light up when he shared his dreams, his plans for the future. I remember the pride I felt watching him become his own person. He had so much potential, so many big ideas, and I was always there, cheering him on, ready to listen, to support him in any way I could. Now, all I have are memories. Memories of a time when he needed me, when I was part of his world. But now I'm on the outside looking in, and I don't know how to get back in. Some days, the silence feels suffocating. I hear the phone ringing. Sometimes it's a call I don't want to miss, but it's never Thomas. Sometimes it's just me staring at the empty space he used to fill, wondering where he went and why I'm no longer important enough for him to reach out. And the hardest part is not knowing why. I've replayed everything in my mind 1,000 times. I've tried to think of any moment when I might have done something wrong, any reason he might have to pull away, but nothing stands out. It's just silence, and I don't know how to break it. I wish I could understand what's going on in his life, what's keeping him from calling, from letting me know that he's okay. I wish I could hear that he's happy, that he's safe, that he's thinking of me, even if just for a moment. But instead, I wait, day after day, and the silence only deepens. I don't know how long I can keep waiting for him to come back, for him to call and tell me everything's okay. But I can't help it. I can't stop hoping that one day the silence will end, that one day Thomas will remember me, and everything will be the way it used to be. Or is that just a wishful dream, a fantasy I can't let go of? I've always believed in hope. It's the one thing that has kept me going through the toughest of times. And now, even with all the silence, all the unanswered calls, I find myself clinging to it. I can't help it. It's like a flickering light in the darkness, something that won't go out, no matter how hard I try to blow it away. I tell myself every day that one day Thomas will come back, that he'll call, that he'll reach out, that he'll remember the love we shared, the bond that we built over years. That hope, that thought, is the only thing that keeps me from giving up entirely. Without it, I don't know what I'd have left. I try to keep it in perspective. I remind myself that he's an adult now, that he has his own life, his own responsibilities. He doesn't need me the way he did when he was younger. But even with all my reasoning, I can't help but feel like I've been forgotten. It's that feeling of being left behind, of being someone who no longer has a place in his life. I remember when he was small, how he would run to me for comfort whenever something went wrong. He would cry in my arms, and I would reassure him that everything would be okay. I would hold him close, wiping away his tears, telling him he was safe with me. I promised him, back then, that I would always be there for him, no matter what. And even now, even in the silence, I want to believe that he remembers that promise, that he remembers the love we shared. But with every passing day, that promise feels like it's fading, slipping further and further away. But still, I hold on to the hope that one day he'll realize it. One day he'll understand how much I love him, how much I miss him. One day he'll reach out to me and say, "I'm sorry, Mom. I've been busy. I've been caught up in my own life, but I haven't forgotten you." I know that might not happen. I know that he may never come back, that he may never call me again. But the thought of him remembering me, of him coming back into my life, is the only thing that keeps me from completely breaking down. I've tried to let go of the expectations. I've tried to stop waiting for him to call, but it's hard. How do you stop waiting for someone you've loved your entire life? How do you just turn off the love you've poured into a person for so many years? I think about the good times, the vacations, the holidays, the birthdays. I think about how we would sit together on the couch, laughing and talking for hours, about nothing in particular. I think about the way his face would light up when he'd tell me about his plans, about his dreams for the future. I remember how, even as he grew older, he would still share pieces of himself with me, as if I was still his safe place. And now I feel like I'm standing on the edge, waiting, hoping that he'll come back to me. It's that hope, that little spark that refuses to fade away. It's the only thing that keeps me from letting go completely. But as time continues to pass, I can't help but wonder, will my hope ever be enough? Will it be enough for him to remember me, to remember the love we shared? Or will the silence become permanent, and my hope turn into nothing more than a quiet longing that never fades? I wish I knew, but for now, I can't stop hoping. Regret. It's a word I never thought I'd have to face when it came to my relationship with Thomas. I thought we had time to talk, time to make more memories, time to fill in the gaps that life inevitably creates. But now, with every passing day of silence, I find myself wondering if there's a point where regret starts to take over, the kind of regret that can't be undone no matter how hard you try. I keep asking myself what I could have done differently. Was I too much? Too overbearing? Maybe I pushed him too hard to stay close, to stay connected, when all he needed was space to figure out his life. Or was I too passive, too willing to let him go, thinking he would always find his way back to me, as if nothing could ever change the bond we had? The more I think about it, the more I realize that there's no one answer. There's no magic moment where I can pinpoint what went wrong. All I know is that one day I was his whole world, and the next I was just an echo in his life, something he didn't have time for anymore. It's the silence that stings the most, the unreturned calls, the ignored messages. I've tried to tell myself it's not my fault, that this is just a phase, that he's just caught up in his own world. But the fear keeps creeping in, the fear that he's moved on without me, that I'm no longer a part of his life. And I can't shake the thought that maybe, just maybe, I let go too soon. Maybe I didn't do enough to keep that connection strong. I remember the times we'd spend together, just him and me, whether it was watching movies, having deep conversations, or sharing simple moments over a cup of coffee. Those moments felt like they were the foundation of something that couldn't be broken. But now I feel like that foundation is crumbling. I want to blame time, blame life, blame the things that pulled him away from me, but I can't escape the feeling that I've failed somehow. And what if it's too late? What if in his busy life he's already let go of me, of the love we shared, and it's something that can never be repaired? The thought is suffocating. The fear of never hearing his voice again, of never sharing another moment with him, is a weight I can't seem to lift. Sometimes I imagine what I would say to him if he were to call. What would I do? What would I say? Would I be able to hide the hurt that's been building inside me, the ache of having been pushed aside? Or would I just let him know how much I've missed him, how much I love him, how I'd do anything to have him back in my life? But then the fear creeps in again. What if he doesn't want to come back? What if the connection we once had has already faded into the past, something that no longer matters to him? I'm afraid of living with that regret, the regret that I didn't fight harder, that I didn't reach out more, that I didn't hold on to him when I had the chance. The fear of regret haunts me every day. I wonder if I'll ever have the chance to tell him everything I've been holding in, to let him know how much I love him and how much I've missed him. But with every unanswered call, every unanswered message, I wonder if I'll ever get the chance to do that. Will I always be left with the haunting question of what could have been? There's a deep kind of heartbreak that comes when someone you love, someone you've poured your entire heart into, begins to drift away from you. It's not the kind of heartbreak that happens overnight, but rather a slow and steady ache that intensifies with each passing day. That's what this feels like, the heartbreak of distance. Not the physical distance that comes from a change of address or a move across the country, but the emotional distance that creeps in without warning, quietly pushing two people apart. When Thomas was young, I was everything to him. I was the first person he'd run to when he scraped his knee, when he was scared, when he was happy. I was there for every moment, the milestones, the triumphs, and even the tears. We shared everything, and I thought that connection, that bond, would never break. But somewhere along the way, something changed. I don't know when or how, but it happened. And now here I am, trying to reach out, trying to close the gap, but it feels like I'm reaching for something just out of my grasp. The silence between us is unbearable. It's not just the lack of phone calls or texts. It's the unspoken words, the things we never said. It's the absence of shared moments, the void where laughter used to live, where understanding once thrived. The silence fills the house like an unwelcome guest, one that never leaves. I've tried to make sense of it, to tell myself that he's just busy, that life is complicated and demanding, and that I'm being too sensitive. But deep down, I know it's more than that. There's a wall between us now, one that I can't see but can certainly feel. It's a wall built from time, from distance, from moments missed, and I can't help but wonder if this wall is one that can ever be torn down. I think about the times when I was his first call, when he couldn't wait to tell me about his day or his dreams. I remember the small things, the way he would sit beside me after school and talk about everything on his mind, the way we would share cups of tea and chat about nothing and everything at once. Those days now feel like they belong to someone else, someone I used to know. They feel like a dream, something that existed only in my memories. And now I sit here looking at the phone, wondering if he'll ever call again. The phone has become a reminder of everything I'm missing. Every time I hear it ring, my heart skips a beat, only to fall when it's not him. I wonder if he even thinks of me, if he even remembers the times we shared. Has he moved on completely? Is he happier without me in his life? I try not to dwell on these thoughts, but they come creeping in, often when I'm alone, when the house is too quiet, and that's when the heartbreak hits the hardest. The realization that maybe, just maybe, I'm no longer part of his world. Maybe he's outgrown me. Maybe he doesn't need me anymore, and that's the hardest pill to swallow. I've given everything to him, and all I wanted in return was to remain a part of his life, to be there when he needed me. But now I'm left wondering if I've become a memory, a name he used to call when things were simpler. The pain of this emotional distance lingers in every part of me. I can't help but wonder, will the heartbreak ever end? Will Thomas ever remember me the way he used to? Or will I always be a distant figure in his life, someone he no longer needs or wants? I long for the day when I can hear his voice again, to feel connected to him once more. But the more time passes, the more I wonder, will that day ever come? Letting go is something I never imagined I'd have to do when it came to Thomas. You always hear people talk about letting go, about allowing your children to grow up and live their own lives, but no one prepares you for the heartache that comes with it. The letting go of a child who isn't physically leaving your side, but is emotionally slipping away, becoming a distant figure in your life. That's a kind of letting go that doesn't come with a clear beginning or end, and it's one of the hardest things I've ever had to face. I've tried. I've tried to stop holding on so tightly, to stop waiting by the phone, to stop wondering if today would be the day he finally calls. But it's not something you can just turn off. When you love someone with everything you have, when they've been a part of your world for so long, the idea of letting go feels like losing a part of yourself. You never think it's possible, not with your child. I've tried to distract myself, filled my days with errands, hobbies, time with friends. I've tried to tell myself that it's okay to let him have his space, that he's an adult now, and that he doesn't need me the way he once did. But those thoughts don't bring me peace. They just remind me of the emptiness I feel, the quiet that fills the house every day when I'm not hearing his voice, when I'm not receiving those small, simple texts that used to be such a comfort. You see, it's not just about him physically being absent. It's the emotional distance, the feeling of being forgotten that hurts the most. I never thought I would be the kind of mother to feel this way. I thought the bond we shared would withstand anything. But now, with each passing day, the silence feels like a chasm between us, one that's growing wider with time. And I don't know how to bridge that gap. There's a part of me that still clings to the hope that one day he'll realize what he's missing, that he'll remember me, remember the connection we had, and that he'll reach out and apologize for the silence. But I know that's not something I can expect. I can't force him to come back, and I can't make him feel the same way I do. And that's the hardest truth to accept, that I can't control his actions or feelings, no matter how deeply I love him. Letting go isn't just about accepting his silence. It's about accepting that I may never get the closure I need. It's about accepting that no matter how much I long for him to call, he might never do it. And that thought, that possibility, makes me feel like I'm being asked to give up something I've held onto for so long. It's a quiet struggle, fighting between my love for him and my need to stop waiting, to stop torturing myself with unanswered messages, with unanswered prayers. I tell myself that I have to let him live his life, to stop needing him to fill the empty space in my heart. But no matter how many times I try to convince myself, that emptiness still lingers. It doesn't go away. The longing doesn't disappear, and I wonder if it ever will. And so I stand at the crossroads, fighting between letting go and holding on, between accepting the silence and hoping for the phone call that may never come. The struggle is unbearable, and I'm not sure which way to go. But one thing is clear. The more I try to let go, the harder it becomes. Will I ever truly be able to move on? Or will the hope of hearing from Thomas always keep me holding on? It's been months now, and I still find myself standing in the same place, looking at my phone, hoping for a sign that Thomas hasn't forgotten me. There are days when the silence is louder than ever, and I wonder if I'll ever hear his voice again, if I'll ever have the chance to tell him how much I miss him, how much I love him, and how much I still need him in my life. I know I can't force him to call, to reach out, to come back into my life, but that doesn't stop me from longing for it. There's a deep ache in my chest, one that never quite goes away, no matter how many distractions I try to fill my life with. No matter how much time passes, I can't stop missing him. I can't stop wishing for things to be the way they were when he used to call just to talk, when he was my little boy, not someone who feels like a stranger to me now. I wonder if he even remembers the bond we shared, the connection that once felt so unbreakable. I remember his laugh, the way he'd light up when he saw me, the way we'd sit together and talk about anything and everything. It was as if nothing could ever come between us. But now I don't even know where to start to fix what feels broken between us. The distance is so vast, so palpable, that I'm not sure if I could ever reach him again, even if I tried. But still, I find myself hoping I can't stop hoping that one day he'll call. Maybe he'll realize what he's missing. Maybe he'll remember the love we shared, and he'll come back into my life. I try to tell myself that I'm okay, that I can live without hearing from him. But the truth is, I'm not okay. I can't help but feel the emptiness that fills the space between us. Every day feels like I'm stuck in this limbo, caught between the past and the present. The past is filled with memories of laughter, love, and togetherness, while the present is filled with silence, unanswered messages, and the haunting question of what went wrong. I don't know if I'll ever get the answers I'm looking for. I don't know if he'll ever come back into my life the way I wish he would. But the love I have for him, my son, isn't something that fades with time. It's something that stays with me, quietly, unshakably. Sometimes I wonder if I've been holding on to something that no longer exists. The person I thought he was, the relationship we shared might be gone, and perhaps I'm clinging to a memory that no longer fits into the person he's become. But even if that's true, even if he's changed, I still love him, and I always will. I think about how many times I've wished for just one more conversation, one more chance to tell him how much he means to me. But as the days go on, I fear that I might never get that chance. So I wait. I wait for the day when I can hear his voice again, when we can reconnect and rebuild what we once had. But with each passing day, I'm reminded that waiting doesn't always bring what you hope for, and yet I can't stop. I can't stop longing for the one thing I feel I've lost, my son, my little boy who used to call just to say, "I love you, Mom." Will he ever call again? Or will I just be left with memories of what once was?